Hello and welcome back to Factorio Tightening the Belt Megabase Guide. I'm Xterminator and thank you for joining me again. Today we are going to work on engines. Now I know last time I said we were going to work on the circuits and then get red circuits going, but unfortunately I just ran out of time to get it all set up off camera, and I figured it wouldn't be very entertaining to do that on camera because it would just be setting up smelters again, which you've already seen, and a circuit build. So we're going to work on engines instead to start getting our way towards blue science the best that we can. Now something I do want to go over is that I have moved some things. You'll see these stations are actually now up here vertical. They were vertical this way too, but they've moved up and come in from kind of the other way. They've wrapped around this way. And the reason I did this is to make sure there was room, because what I've done is I've actually put a radar here so we could zoom in and look. I've placed down both circuit builds and I put these above the build instead of like in front of it, so we can move these back closer to the track and have enough room for more smelters and for red belt when we do this. Because someone had mentioned in a previous episode, which was a very good observation, that if we went to make this red belt and double the size of it, right, because red belt is twice the speed of yellow belt, that we wouldn't have actually had room. So I've now measured out, and this can go a whole another length of itself and leave room for all the steel that we want. But that wasn't possible with the trains in front of it like this. So I brought this in. It's a little bit wonky. This will actually require a full proper junction to work well, because we're also going to have copper. This one is going to be copper, I believe, which can't really, I mean, it could share this, but it's maybe not going to work so good. But we'll figure that out here in the future. So I did want to show you that, and I did set up both circuit builds as I mentioned. Here's one with the 5 smelters it needs, and then this guy with the 5 smelters it needs, and then red circuits will go down here. And gears, we are still going to put gears on the bus, and they're going to have to go somewhere else. They may go even farther below, but that wouldn't really work because we're going to need gears, you know, way over here, like farther up. So we may potentially do gears somewhere else, like maybe over here, or I may decide to move this all yet again, move this down a bit so we can fit some gear production above it, which again, it's all just some blueprints right now, so it's really easy for me to move it back and forth. I'll have to think on that. Let me know what you think. But yeah, so today we're going to work on engines. I've collected all the materials we need pretty much to get this working, crafted a bunch of stuff, and we're going to get started. So how many engine machines do we need? Same ratio type of stuff. Blue science packs unfortunately do not give us 2 per cycle like the military, even though these are very expensive. So we do actually have to build a lot of these. We're going to need 24 machines for blue, which is a ton, because we want 2 per second. So to match that, then we need 24 engines per second, essentially, right? Base rate, or not per second. Sorry, 2 per second engines base rate. 2 per second engines base rate, and these guys take 10 seconds. So we're actually going to need 20 assemblers making engines, which is quite a large amount. It's going to be pretty huge. And I've actually ironically crafted exactly 20 assemblers. We will need a couple because for now, we are going to make the gears on site since we don't have them on the bus. And for something like engines that don't take a ton of gears, they only take 1 gear. Even once we get gears on the bus, we may not bring them over to the engines just because it may not be just worth it. I mean, they take 1 gear and they take 10 seconds. So even if we're making 2 a second, total, that means we only need 2 gears a second, which is 1 gear machine, right? Because these take half a second. So in a second we make 2. So it's just 1 gear machine to support all of this. Now pipes is going to be a bit more because the pipes take the same amount of time, but the engines actually require 2 pipes. So we will need 2 pipe machines, which could get a little bit interesting with this setup. We're going to see how this goes. So let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to do this because I was originally thinking having engines here and then like drills below it and then blue science down here, but that's really far from the labs. What we should do is actually lay out the where we want the blue packs to go, and then build the other products below it. So we're going to lay these out, and we're probably going to do 2 columns or 2 rows rather, because 24 in a row is going to be really long. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to blueprint it. So I'm going to hold shift, and this will just ghost place them. And we know that this is 8, right? Because we've put 8 here. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And I'm just seeing how long this would be if we did a full thing. It's pretty long. I'm not sure we want to do that. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it can just come over and merge here. That's actually probably better because we have tons of horizontal room here, whereas vertical, we're going to hit this eventually and such. So this may actually be better. And let's just, again, to double check, we can blueprint it and notice that this is in fact 24 machines, which is perfect. So that's where we want that. Now it's going to need 3 input belts, again, because it requires 3 materials. We can only get 2 on a belt. So let's have one of them be here, and I'm not going to do the full length, but I just want to do this for measuring. Right, so now we know that we can put engines kind of down here-ish somewhere. Make sure we leave room. And I'm going to start, actually, by placing the gear and pipe assemblers we're going to need. So normally I would so this needs 4 pipe a second, which actually still isn't that much. It's really not that much. Like a yellow belt is still enough. This can move, 13.33 atoms a second. So I'm actually going to combine the pipes and the gears onto one belt. So let's go ahead and have this guy. I'm trying to think in my head how I want this. I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to have... this is a bit tough because I want it to line up, but it's not going to. So these are going to be the pipe machines. They're not going to line up with everything, which is slightly unfortunate, but sometimes it can't be perfect. And these guys are going to export probably like this, and then we're going to side load. And again, we can side load. We could do red belt, but we don't even need to because this isn't even going to be a compressed belt, I don't believe. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to put our gear machine here and put him like that. And again, the inserters will work perfectly because he inserts on this side, he inserts on that side, and it's good to go. And then we just need some iron. So iron's going to go there and here. This is going to eat a fair bit of iron. I'm wondering if we should bring 2 belts over. For now, we don't have 2 belts to bring over, so we're just going to split it beforehand. So we're going to bring 1 belt over and then just split it, and it will distribute, however. We could prioritize the pipes because there's 2 of them. We'll have to see how it works out naturally. And this, I am going to put 2 inserters, again, because he requires 2 iron. These only need 1 because they require 1 iron. And then with that, let me go ahead and make some of that. So then we will need 20 of these. So we're going to put 10 down on one side and then 10 down on the other side. And these are going to share. Now we are going to need steel as well. And this is where it can get a little bit interesting. We could do steel on the outsides of them. Although ideally, we would probably want it on the inside. And then export out the side. So this whole thing may be a little close to my blue science. The blue science could actually move up a bit. So that's not that big of a deal because, it can move up a few tiles. So this will actually work. We'll do it. It will be double the belt to go on the outside. But if we offset it, it's going to really annoy me because this side's going to be further spaced. Although, actually, no. I changed my mind. We are going to do it down the middle. Change plans. Okay, so we're going to have the steel come in here. And then, so these guys are going to do that. And they take only 1 steel, which is nice. And then here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to... we're going to do this. And instead of outputting here, we're just going to output to the side like this. And have it merge, like so. And then the steel can still just underground. It's not going to be, quite symmetrical, but, sometimes you have to deal with it. And then we'll just place these down. And we'll just set and then copy. Holding down left click and running. This is so much faster than it used to be when you couldn't just run while copying. And it would help if I had actually offset these correctly. I know you guys are probably about to yell at me. Don't worry about it. I caught it. I could have left that there, but then these wouldn't line up with it. And that won't do. So oil is pretty much done with the plastic. It's just waiting on the belt for the red circuits. And I'm really hoping that before next episode, I can get those green circuits and such set up so that we're all ready for that. I just, like I said, I simply did not have enough time. So he's going to split. He's going to come over here. And he's going to go like that. And then, so one of these is going to be steel. And then we will need to output to the outside here. For the engines, we could actually have it come around. Actually, hold on. So if we have a double input on this side, we could actually have engines come this way. This would actually be better. I was considering having them go like this, but then there'd be some weird weaving. But what we can do now is have this come out this way, and this would leave room. Wrapping back around is kind of, it's not, is that longer? Because we would wrap around and then go poster. Yeah, this is actually more belt doing it this way. Although this doesn't really look great. I mean, it would help if the belt was running the other way. Oh well. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. I think we will just do it this other way. It does leave room for expansion if we want some extra engines or something. And I think instead of doing that, we are going to, for now, bring it over and then we can move it if we want expansion, right? So let's just have him come this way. And he can side load, although we could just do a splitter. So that's going to be on the outside here, which will work good. So let's split him. And then we'll just do this in pairs again. Oh, there we go. Works out perfectly. And then we can probably get mining drills set up as well this episode. Alright, so that's going to grab there. And then these guys are going to grab the steel. We will need long-handed, of course, because we have that extra belt. And I would like to match them up, so go ahead and just place these down. And then long-handed. I like to put them on the side like this. It just kind of makes it look nice in my eyes. Now, of course, when we do the mining drills, they're going to require circuits, and the circuit build we have is not permanent, but since it's far enough away from the bus, we can switch the lines around a little bit, and it won't cause any issues. Now, I'm gonna put power poles here, but I'm not actually going to power this on, because, you know, it's going to take power because this stuff is sitting here idle, but we're not actually going to be using it for a bit, so we don't want to power it on. You know, it may be your initial instinct to just power it on, and it is a little annoying with these lights flashing back and forth, but this is a fair bit of extra power just from the drain. So we're going to go ahead and place him there, make a few more. I thought I'd made enough. Go like that, and this guy will need one. Let's stick him there. And that's that. Now let's go ahead and bring down, we can bring down the materials if we want. Yeah, so this is going to be iron. These are some long belt stretches, but the base will start filling out as we go, for sure. Now, resource-wise, we still need to get the copper, and I'm thinking getting copper probably from here because it's just a little closer than this one. So copper will come in, iron. This one's going to be for the main base, if I hadn't mentioned that. This is going to be for these smelters, since it's bigger and we will have more smelters here. And then this one is going to tie in here, and this is what's going to go over to the circuit build. And then oil, we are pretty good. We will need to start tapping this other oil once we turn this oil build on because those two wells will not last long. And I think our radars have pretty much finished scanning everything. So we do have a fair bit of stuff revealed, which is good. Alright, so there's the iron. Steel, we may wait a minute because I would like to get these miners set up as well. Oh, darn it. This is somewhat annoying. Alright. Is there a reason that... Oh, I didn't split it here because that was in the way. Alright. I was like, why would I have not split it sooner? Now, this would be a case... Now, I say don't underground the bus, underground the other parts. This would actually be a case where it's less underground to underground the bus because we only have one circuit belt. Now, if we had 2 or 3 or 4 circuit belts, then it would be better to underground these because it's only 2 undergrounds. But in this case, it's actually less undergrounds. So we're going to do that. Like here would be a candidate again to underground this because it's only 2 instead of 3. And he's going to come over. So these mining drills, how many do we need? Well, again, the blue science takes 1. So we need, and we're making it at a rate of 2 science packs a second. So we're going to be consuming 2 mining drills a second. And these mining drills take 2 seconds. So that means that my brain has just completely fried out. Okay, so that means that if one of these takes 2 seconds, 2 of these would take 1 second, that would be 1 per second. So we're going to need 4 of these. We're going to need 4, right, to give us 2 per second, because 2 would give us 1 per second, and then double that. So let's actually go ahead and come over here and set these up. And I'm going to grab some stuff, since I am running low on materials here. Grab some gears, too. Try not to grab the turrets. Don't need quite that many turrets. And research, I haven't done research intentionally, because we really don't have that much. We could get construction bots. That would actually be a good thing, those construction robots. Because you can get, like, we have modular armor. Once we get red circuits, we could put a roboport, personal roboport in here. You can see down there those accepted equipments. That's all these stuff that it'll accept. Personal roboports will work in here, but you can only fit little solar panels and batteries, which don't do very well for powering it. So typically I just wait until I get normal power armor, but we'll have to see. And then this right here, in case you were curious, this is from the mod, the Afraid of the Dark. You can see down there in the yellow it says that, just so you aren't wondering like why you don't have that in vanilla. So let's go ahead and craft these. So this is going to be for the mining drills. And the mining drills do take gears. However, this is something, and this is going to seem kind of counterintuitive to what I just said, but this is something where I'm actually not going to build the gear machines, and I'm just going to wait until we get gears on the bus. Because these take so many gears that doing a setup with local gear production is going to be very odd, very awkward, and just kind of silly. So what we're going to do is set it up assuming we get gears on the bus, which we're going to do, and then bring them over. I could have done the same here, but like I said, it's such a minimal amount of gears, I'm actually preferring to make them locally here. Now, actually, this does bring up another subject. Before we continue, this does bring up another subject that someone mentioned in the comments. Is discussing the benefits and downsides of busing gears. Now, a lot of it comes down to personal choice, but there is actually a benefit to busing gears rather than making them all locally. And that is that it compresses down your iron, right? Because as we've mentioned before, gears take 2 iron plate, right? So if you make the gears somewhere else, like if you have a main gear producing area and you give that iron, it's taking 2 iron and compressing it down into 1 gear, and then you can bus that, right? So if you do that, opposed to having gear machines locally and having to bus in 2 plates for every gear you need, then if you have the gears on the bus, you've already taken those 2 plate and compressed it down, and you're now having to bus less stuff in general, if that makes sense. You know, you'd have to bust double the materials to get the iron to make local gears, opposed to just having the gears come on the bus. Now, you know, that's of course still the case here, but again, it comes down to, like, also, in my opinion, it comes down to how many machines you actually need. This only needs 1 machine, and it's not even, well, it is going to be working all the time, but it's just 1 machine, and it fits into the build nicely. So it's like, I don't really mind bringing the extra iron over, you know, to do this, and it fits in nicely. Whereas these mining drills are going to take a lot. They take 5 gears, and if we're having 4 machines do this, you know, so a total of 2 per second, this is going to be taking 10 gears per second. Right, which means we need 5 machines, right? Because this takes half a second. So we need 5 machines making this. This makes this a little bit harder to make the gears here. You know, we could just do 5 and then the mining drills, but it makes the build a bit bigger, and that's a ton of iron too. That's the other thing, is that is a ton of iron. That's, you know, double that amount in iron you have to bring over, because again, it's compressing it down when you make gears. So I'd rather have the gear bus come over and do something like the mining drills. So that's kind of my thing. You know, some people don't like busing gears, and that's totally fine. I didn't for the longest time. I'm kind of starting to now, just because it makes a lot of these builds much simpler. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just build the drills here. We need 4. So let's do that. And these guys are going to have to do a little bit of craziness with inserters. In fact, we're probably going to have to use stack inserters once we get some red circuits made. We can't actually make red circuits right now if we need to. If we had plastic, we can go get some plastic and hand make them. Because these probably will need stack inserters. Because if you look here, this takes 10 iron. To be able to insert 10 iron in 2 seconds, the fast inserters are capable of it, but I don't know that we have enough physical room on the machine. And this is even more amplified with like the assembler ones, which we will need for the purple packs, the next ones, production packs. And that's even more amplified because you need a 9 iron in half of a second. So it doesn't always come down to like how much inserter speed speed you can do. It's more like the real estate on the assembly. You know, we can only do, I mean, at most 3 sides, and routing the belts here would be difficult. So probably like 2 sides, you know, so you can only fit so many inserters on here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have the highest input material, highest throughput, be on its own belt. So that would be iron. Iron is going to be on its own belt, and we'll just have it here. 2 inserters may be able to do this. If they're stack inserters, they certainly will. So we're going to have this. And the other problem that we're going to encounter is this belt is actually not going to be near enough throughput to sustain this. Because, you know, these guys are going to grab all of it, and then this won't have any left. Now, we probably can upgrade this to red belt, and it will work. If we do a quick calculation here, we know, again, that we're making 2 mining drills a second, which means we're going to be consuming 20 iron a second, right? Because 10 times 2. Now, the yellow belt is not fast enough. It's 13.33. However, the red belt is, and it even has a little give in there because it's 26 items a second, a little more than that. So what we can do is make it red belt and either send 2 iron lines into a splitter to go into the red belt, because the red belt's double the speed of yellow, or we can just have upgrade one of our things to steel furnaces and red belt, which we should do to all of them eventually, and then have it just output the red belt, and we just take that. So this will work if we make it red belt, which we should actually do, just to remind myself. So this is going to be red belt for just the iron, and this is going to need circuit and gears, which are coming from the bus, and this will probably also need red belt because it's just slightly under. It's 8 items total, which is 16 items a second for 2 assembling machines a second, or 2 drills a second, which is more than the yellow belt can support. Because, you know, we need 16, this can only support 13. So if we want this to actually be able to supply all these down the chain, we will need this to be red belt as well. Now, of course, we don't need the parts, the circuits, and the gears to be on red belt, because they don't need to go that fast. But since we're combining both of them, we can just merge it. And I'm running up here to get more red belt, so we can kind of bring this over. And there we go. And then all that's going to be left is the red circuits. And like I said, hopefully by next time I will have the circuit, the normal circuit build and those smelters built and such, so then we can just build the red circuits, which are actually pretty darn straightforward. You'll see once we start building it, it really won't be that difficult to do. So we can get that all set up and probably get blue science done for sure next episode. Because my expectation is the red circuits, considering I have the other 2 things finished, red circuits will take maybe 15 minutes or so to set up, maybe a little more just for the explaining. But it's a very pretty straightforward build, which I like. So that's actually very nicely powered. Of course, we will need to export these somewhere. So luckily, we do have a space. And these themselves are not super fast. It's 2 seconds, so a long-handed inserter is doable here. And this is actually a bit of a problem. These power poles are no longer nice. Actually, they can be. Well, not really. They can be now. It takes a little bit of finagling. And this is, this we could have just output this direction. And we'll wrap around underneath and then come over here. So let's actually do that. It's not going to be quite as clean as I would have liked, but we can rearrange it. The belts are a lot easier to tear up than your production. So I would focus on getting your production where you want it and then worrying about the belts a little later. As long as you can get your belts in, that's the important thing. You do want to make sure you can actually fit and route your belts in and out. But in terms of their actual configuration like this, which that actually didn't turn out looking too bad, you don't have to worry all that much. So let's run this iron. And then this guy over. Do we want to have... We may want to switch these lines. It doesn't really matter which is which since we have the same amount of inserters on each. So with that in mind, I think it would actually be better to have the circuits and gears combined first and then bring the iron down to this next one. So let's go ahead and underground. So like here, we will underground this because it's just one underground. So you're going to come over and we will want to split this. So let's pull this back a little bit and make a few splitters. So he's going to go like that, and then he is going to come over, and what we'll do is we'll actually bring this over, because otherwise it's going to be, yeah, we're actually going to bring this over, because otherwise it's going to be like merging right in the middle of the bus, which is a little bit awkward. So we're going to bring this over, and it's not quite right, but that's fine. He's going to merge This one's going to come this way, and this will be gears, which, again, we haven't done yet, but this one will be gears. And then this one will be iron, which we'll need a whole nother belt for, so we'll just... I think I did actually set up... Yeah, this one's all set up. It just needs ore, which we don't have enough of yet, so that's why we'll need to get a train in. But this one I'll probably just make red belt off the bat, just upgrade it really quick, and then have the red belt come down and then just turn into this, and that'll be good to go. And that should be it. And, you know, like I said, next episode we'll knock out the red circuits, and then blue science, we just have to tie in the belts, and that will be done. And that's actually a huge accomplishment. I know it's been a little slower, maybe. It's been slower than I would have hoped, but I hope you guys don't mind. It's, you know, blue science is a bit of a feat to get set up. It's one of the more complicated ones. You know, purple science in comparison for complications is much easier. It's very material heavy, the purple science. But in terms of how complicated it is to set up, it's actually not much at all. Now, this is how you unlock yellow, which we're not quite there yet. I always forget how we get this unlocked. Oh, this is advanced material processing. Okay, because see, this is just 2 items. This is just electric furnaces, which are as simple as steel, stone, brick, and red circuits. And then electric engines, which are super simple, because electric engines are just engines, circuits, and lubricant. Lubricant we will need to get down. And actually, one last thing before I end this episode is there were also some questions about, like, why would I make plastic or batteries at the oil when we're actually going to need them way down here on the bus? You know, why wouldn't I bring them down, you know, make them down here? And it's, again, personal preference. For me, I prefer to just make them at the oil and then belt them down rather than piping the liquids. However, I will, for things like lubricant, I will actually pipe, like, down the bus, the lubricant, just on the side or something. But I usually find that it's just easier for me to make them at oil because, you know, the stuff is already there and the water's there. That's the other problem, is for something like batteries, there's 0 water over here, so I then have to pipe down the water as well. You know, it just seems like more hassle to me in my situation. There, you know, you certainly could make the batteries and plastic and what have you, you know, on your bus and then actually just pipe down the liquids to do it there if it's more convenient, and that's totally an option. It just usually isn't convenient for me to do so. But I believe I'm going to end it here, guys. We did get pretty much, I mean, we didn't really turn anything on, but we did get things set up so that next episode we can just blast through it and get blue science done, and we will be making very good headway after that. The main thing is the red circuits. Once the green circuit build and red circuit build are done, things will flow a lot quicker and smoother because those are the main staples that we're kind of missing along with the gears, and then we can just start, you know, putting down builds and proceeding through the tech quite a bit quicker. But that'll do it. Leave any questions or comments you have down below. As always, I will do my best to respond. I hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. But until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.